Continuation. And how should one read a book? How should one read a book? The last part of the essay. If this is so, we concluded, or we stopped at the point where she's talking about common qualities in certain types of books, importance of our own stance, how important it is for us to be individual, to take our own unique stand in reading and approaching text. That's what she's talking about. So if this is so, if to read a book as it should be read calls for the rarest qualities of imagination, we should be so imaginative. Our imagination and the skill of our imagination is really needed. Insight is a kind of perspective, the valuable perspective, appreciable perspective, approach, the way we approach things. For that, our real insight is needed. An observation skill from inside out. That is really preferable. Insight and judgment. You may perhaps conclude that literature is a very complex art and that it is unlikely that we shall be able, even after a lifetime of reading, that is again you are in the task of judgment, then you may perhaps conclude that literature is a very complex art. Even think about people who opt for literature. At least a percentage of them hold the feeling that this is just about reading poems, reading short stories, and writing down something and getting the degree. But that is not the case. Once you are into literature, into the serious discipline of learning literature, taking graduation or post graduation, you will understand by the first or second term semester that it's not that easy. It's obviously a complex art. It holds theoretical sessions. It's not just about simple poems, short stories that gets you fun, relaxation, but your brain work, your in-depth reading, all those are demanded by works of literature. And see, we shall be able, even after a lifetime of reading, and that it is unlikely that we shall be able, even after a lifetime of reading, to make any valuable contribution to its criticism. It's very bad that if you cannot do that, if you are unable to do that, if you are unable to contribute anything like its criticism, that is its area. It's like you are not publishing any research article. Research article is again a contribution that you are taking a topic of your choice. You're finding out an approved journal. You're sending the particular file to that group. Writing of yours, that concepts, the mixing theory, everything, you make it in an organized fashion. So a mini project actually. In 12 or 10 pages, 10 to 10 to 12 pages. But the idea is that of yours. It's your own. Too many people may have done something on that, but that is not nothing to be taken for granted. Okay, you can read it as an external source, but you can think about a novel if you feel that this area of the novel or this particular character deserves mention. I'm going to make a reading on this on the basis of some theories. So you are contributing something. Otherwise, it's about a task which is incomplete in itself. We must remain readers. We shall not put on the further glory that belongs to those rare beings who are also critics. So I told you this particular area, this criticism, is endowed with many people who are well versed in that form. Like so that if you are not confident, okay, you may remain as readers as well. That also is fine. You reading something, reading the art of literature, reading the works of literature also is another contribution. At least that can be done. There are people who stay away from doing that also, who are allergic towards writings, books. So at least you are doing this much fine. But criticism is as inevitable as breathing, Eliot points out. But still, we have our responsibilities as readers and even our importance. And even our importance. Like we are also important. We have responsibility even as readers. You have responsibility. Your understanding of a text that matters. You mistake the ideas promoted by a book. You know how difficult it is to deal with the misinterpretations, whether it is in personal life, professional life. You mean something, you say something, and you see people take it in an entirely different way. They are mistaken, so they are punished unlikely. All these things may happen. So that is the problem with the misinterpretation or misrepresentation, mistaken reading, misunderstanding. All these problems may pop up. So the same applies to books as well. So books are about human lives or about the world in general, contemporary issues, social scenario. So everything is important in that regard. You cannot say that oh it's just a movie. It's not just a novel. It's not just a piece of writing. Why should we take too much it in a very serious manner? But it has its own implications and influences. It has its own influence in the society. 10 people read a book, and if the book communicates something very problematic, say about fanaticism or about other misbeliefs, disbeliefs, that is getting promoted, the idea is again getting disseminated. So books have the influence and your reading or interpretation, judgment, criticism, all these which are inevitably connected with your reading task, reading activity also become important. The standards we raise and the judgments we pass. The standards we raise means okay, you expect a book to be read in some way. The judgments we pass. After your reading, you make some judgments. Steal into the air and become part of the atmosphere, which writers breathe as they work. Writers breathe as they work, breathe as they work. So obviously that affects them back as well. A book which is not well received. You know how Jan Martel talks about the first book, which was not at all a success. And he was almost suffering. He was almost starting suffering because of the loss and all. But the other one became a huge success as well. And the criticism readings you get on your books, so that can have an impact on the writers. An influence is created which tells upon them, even if it never finds its way into print. An influence is created which tells upon them, even if it never finds its way into print. Some of the ideas, some people write down that they never go or take the effort to publish it, and it never finds its way into print. So printing or publishing a book is not an easy task. Online publication is comparatively fine, less difficult. But to get something into print format, to get the approval as such, it's very difficult. Even now it is like that. You have to face the red tape and all those implications are attached with this. So she says about the ideas which are hidden, which are kept somewhere as unavailable to the reading public. So all these happen with the ideas, with concepts. all those. And that influence, if it were well instructed, vigorous, and individual, and sincere. So writings, concepts, all those can be vigorous, sincere, genuine, very truly creative. So might be of great value. Some people are there who are very particular that no, just write down for my pleasure. I don't want it to be given to the reading public. I write it for my own sake. But later, sometimes posthumously those get published. Sometimes some acquaintances of them take the effort to publish, or some of their family members. Even with many prominent writers, this happened, or this happened. Those may be of great value, those hidden great ideas, worthy ideas. Now, when criticism is necessarily in abeyance, so criticism is necessary. Actually, criticism has almost taken the depth of it has become a kind of what you say, uh, necessarily in abeyance. Like it's not determined by how to do that. There is no actual. Even though you try to attach it with some scientific organization and all, still criticism, how to do one, criticize a book, it's not actually really decided. That's why it's abeyance, in the sense it's lacking mm, particular. It is not decided, but it's like it's undetermined. It's almost like an undetermined property. Abeyance in the sense. So it's not actually even many later critics, the modern critics even point it out. Like criticism, it's inevitable, it's necessary. Still, you don't have a real way. Like if you talk about a scientific experiment, you can definitely know the way to do this. Just think about salt analysis. Every student is having the proper method and strategy. You are having an instruction to do, which one to mix with the other one, or what will you get after mixing one with the other. But think about a person going to analyze a book, to criticize a book. You cannot say that this is highly determined. Even if you are applying the same theory in the same books, there is nothing like one person may be writing 10 to 20 pages on the same. One person may be passing just commentary upon that, even if he or she is using a theory, a very broad and vast theory. So that is not actually determined. It's in abeyance actually. Then books pass in review like the procession of animals in a shooting gallery. Actually, books pass in review like the procession of animals in a shooting gallery. And the critic has only 1 second in which to load and aim and shoot, and may well be pardoned if he mistakes rabbits for tigers. So this is almost like the situation when you have a lot, you have something in abundance, you have books, and numerous books are there, and you miss out the main, you you miss the aim, or you mistake something for other. So you cannot always blame them, because now we have books in abundance, ideas in abundance, or one book itself is loaded with too many concepts, characters. You know how the harmonious way narration, everything is now in dreams. Nowadays, these writers are deliberately adopting the technique to subvert all those traditional narrative strategies and techniques. Yeah, so all those mistakes are pointed out, like eagles for bando, so fowls or misses altogether, or wastes and based his shot upon some peaceful cow grazing in a further field. So all those mistakes you may come across, she gives a metaphorical uh, way of you attempt to shoot some animals and you shoot the other. the one that you didn't intend or you do not intend. That's all. So this is it. And if behind the erratic gunfire of the press, the author felt that there was another kind of criticism. So again, another problem is with the gunfire, erratic gunfire of the press. That is the pressure you may have from the printing part or the publishing sector. So obviously authors are under pressure. They cannot always publish all those stuff they write down without being cut, without being corrected, or their writings getting molded according to the demand of the time, demand of the reading public. That's why you talk about adding color even to autobiographies. People are compelled, writers are compelled to do this. Add coloring according to the demand of the reading public. Means you are becoming ingenuine. You are not true to heart towards your writing. Or even writers getting corrected, they get their draft for printing, for publishing, and those people cut and edit that according to their means. But that is not creativity at all. If that is done, you should close down the task with the publisher and come back. That is the way, and it is impossible in almost all the cases. So the author felt that there was another kind of criticism. The opinion of people reading for the love of reading. That is also there. That can also be the more relaxed kind. But it's almost like opinion of people. Some people read it, they discuss it in their literary circle. That also is not very valuable. You don't have to think that this is very coffee shop chatting. No, such coffee shop chatting itself had a lot to do in the development of English literature at a time period. Certain clubs like Richard Steele Addison, how their gatherings, their discussions, all those turned into the formation of different circles, literary circles, intellectuals, people who are truly, genuinely interested in literature, gathering together, gathering somewhere, and going for very appreciable literary discussions, activities, writings, publishing. Some periodicals and all later evolved by such gatherings or through their gatherings. So that also is the reading for the love of reading, slowly and unprofessionally and judging with great sympathy. Slowly and unprofessionally. That's not nothing to do. That has nothing to do with the professionalism, like criticism. Again, a scientific touch is attached with that. So definitely, when you take the part of a critic, it's professional. But this kind of a love of reading, people discussing the same book after they are reading together, they are reading. It's not something professional, but and judging with great sympathy. They approach a book with a great, may be able to approach a book with great sympathy as well. So, and yet with great severity. But it can be serious also. Might this not improve the quality of his work? So, a very close companion of yours, get you some reading, get you a commentary, pass a judgment upon, pass a commentary upon your book. That also is a part that may improve you as a writer, that may get you the chance to improve. Like you, some persons get you the review. Some persons tell, see, even if it is criticism, it's part of growth of the writer. It's not the way that you write something and get it for reading to someone, and every one of them, you expect every one of them to appreciate that, none of them to criticize any of the points. so that you are closed in your own selves. Mixed review should be there. Every great book, you take every great book, you just search in Amazon. You can have mixed reviews. 5 stars will be there in abundance, but at the same time, you can see 1 star with a maximum negative review. Sometimes when you go through such books, you feel that okay, yeah, that also is true. But at the same time, yeah, those positive remarks also are there, but at the same time, the other one also is there. So in a case of almost all the books, you can stand in the middle position, not to the two extremes, I think. Because yeah, some of the concepts you may be able to appreciate, some of the characters you may be able to appreciate. It has nothing to do with the rivalry. Uh, some people are there who are there to find fault with everything. I'm not talking about such people. But every judgment, every commentary upon any of your writings, it is improving you as an author. So may improve the quality of his work. Every time she's pointing out his, why? Can be his or her. Should be the, especially being a woman writer and who knows about the problems of this such biased language. Nowadays people are very careful. And if by our means books were to become stronger, richer and more varied. If by our means books were to become stronger, richer and more varied, that would be an end worth reaching. Means yeah, sometimes we talk about pulp fiction and all. Such writers, one or two of their books become so successful, many readers are there, youngsters are especially attracted towards that. But the problem is, they become the representative of a particular way of narrative, particular way of characterization, portrayal, and then can never step away from that. That's a line that's drawn which they continue to go on in the process of their whole literary career. They can never do something different. You know, in the past, you can come up with writers who are poets, playwrights, novelists, critics, so multifaceted genius. But nowadays, we come across the tendency where actually you can see such an attempt on the part of most of the writers in some 18th and 19th century, I think. But now we can see people who are thoroughly located in. It's not actually my very superficial review cannot be taken for granted because we don't know about every writer. There may be people who are attempting different literary genre. But to talk about this in terms of history, when you disturb the writers, their works during the time of Yeats and all, Saint Yeats, that particular time that saw the shift, the whole scenario was changing. These writers, even though they were not really successful, H.A. Yeats is a very great poet. He has number of places to to be listed down under his name. But those were not at all successful. Let it be there. But they attempted that. But certain time period you can see writers not just in the modern time, but at a certain time period in history, literary history, you can see people. You can come across people uh, who are just attached, whose names are attached just with one literary type, like Shakespeare, dramatist, but he wrote down sonnets as well. Marlowe, most often, every time you talk about his dramas, But some people are the who just write on one or two novels, and along with that, their major literary type only getting visibility. So that is again the and strong, richer, more varied, becoming varied, or you are having multiplicity in your writing style, writings. That is really urgent and important. You are attempting something different without limiting yourselves in certain comfortable areas. Like some people are really comfortable writing poetry. They can never try with fiction. Some people are okay with writing fiction only. But some people try with everything. That's all. So every review is important. Every review is important. That is the whole of that particular paragraph. That's a paragraph. That's what the top paragraph talks in general, in commonly. Well, like the whole is about criticism, the task of criticism. So with that also you get reviews. Sometimes it is about funny reading, but then also even your passing judgments, commentaries matter a lot. Those are important. So every review is important and worth reaching. So that will be an end worth reaching. That's it. Now, yet the last paragraph, yet who reads to bring about an end, however desirable, who reads to bring about an end, however desirable. So, we all want something out of the activities that we try to the activities that we go for. So, reading also is an activity that you take effort and strain to make it somewhere worthy, beneficial. That's it. So are there not some pursuits that we practice because they are good in themselves? Are there not some pursuits that we practice because they are good in themselves? So if you cannot do any of this, like going for criticism, serious attempt on passing judgments, all those, but certain activities are there which are good in themselves. And some pleasures are that are final. Can't you take reading in this way? Or can you take reading in this way? Let us see. In this way, let us see what how Wolf concludes this essay. And is not this one among them? Hmm, and is not this among them? Yeah, actually, one among them, fine. Is not this one among them? Isn't it actually one among the kind of pleasure that is final in itself? Such pleasures are there. Some people say, "What is the why are you getting educated?" For the question, for the sake of my having a professional life, to build a huge bungalow, to travel all around the world, have a lot of purpose to list down. A number of lists are already prepared and kept intact. But some people are there who may say that education to be a self growth and a growing of your inner self. You don't mean much out of it. I'm not talking about the people who are lazy enough never to be in search of a profession, to sit at after getting all the degree, all the higher qualification, sitting at home. Because some people are there who are okay, ready with earning something, or who are ready to um, earn bread for the family. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But that very particular task of learning, getting education, you don't think too much about what is the scope of this course after some 5 years. How am I going to be placed in some of the best universities? No, that should not be the way you should approach education. Whichever degree that you are taking, that whole part. And again, some people are the when you read this essay, right? See, teacher says that there is no essay that is possible on this part from this part. So why should I spend my time on this? There may be people who are like that. Some universities get the module division in that way. Weightage, they decide the weightage. So that particular, along with the module and the hours, now we have hour divisions. Like, this module has to be given this number of hours. It should be taught in this number of hours. This is the way we have the system. But somewhere, along with that, you get the idea about the number of questions, not number of questions, but the kind of questions that can be asked. Like, essay can be there only from this module. So that is the way, and there are people who leave out, who do not give any importance to those modules, which do not show certain questions which carry too much of marks, like 10, 8, 11. That is again, you are intentional. You need something out of the present activity, but that is complete and final in itself. You are learning, you are reading, you are getting educated. Even your professional life. Think about that. Out of earning, I will do like this, that. Apart from that, you can find pleasure in your own task, your own activity. Think about the way I record all my classes from June to this moment, either as video sessions or audio sessions. I am sure that none of you will listen that. At least a few, about 5 or 6 of you may listen that. Who cares about it? Think about YouTubers. Again, it's not about a negative commentary. They plan to make the channel grow, monetization, all those are in mind. But people are there who make it, in this way as well. I never tell you to do like this or that. You have to view this. No, it's for the sake of my own pleasure, my own professionalism. That also can be done. So that later, if I feel how my class looked like, how I explained this particular essay in 2021, 2020, later after some years, if I'm alive, if I'm dealing with the same essay for some other batches, I may go back to this, or I may even think that, okay, the explanation has become somewhere fine. Now I can add more points. My experience may grow. Some contemporary, nowadays we can connect a lot of our ideas with the COVID-19 pandemic scenario. The explanation I get for post-colonialism is not the same that I gave to your class or some other batch a few years before. The grand narrative, the example that we took in 2018 or 2019 is not the same that I gave for 2019 batch this year. Because that grand narrative, meta-narrative, I try to connect it with the protocols now. How wearing mask was not at all a grand narrative during a time when pandemic is not there. But now it has become a kind of grand narrative for us. So how it can change, how you can connect it with the concept of grand narrative, meta-narrative, mini-narrative and all. We didn't have such an example in the past. So the criticism that is the beauty of dealing with that paper called criticism. Every year you come across new examples, new metaphors. So same way, it has a pleasure in itself. We should not think about external activities, the reference, the people, their response to our classes. Nothing should be there. We can't expect. See the class which is now with some 50 people. 19 of you are joining. Almost all the days that is the case. Why should we be worried? If you want, that also is your freedom. The same way, this dealing or not cutting short the quality, not compromising the quality is our decision, or maybe sometimes we may decide the reverse, but that also should be final in itself. That is up to us. Should not be by some instructions. There should not be interruptions. In that way also you can get a kind of pleasure. Is not this among them? I have sometimes dreamt at least that when the day of judgment dawns and the great conquerors and lawyers and statement come to receive their rewards, their crowns, their laurels, their names carved indelibly upon imperishable marble. So she talks about the moment of judgment. So the Almighty will turn to Peter and will say, not without a certain envy, when he sees us coming with our books under our arms. Think about the moment of judgment. She wishes for such a moment to occur. That some people come with the books under their arms. Look, these need no reward. We have nothing to give them here. They have loved reading. That is enough in itself. They are complete in themselves because their life as such is complete, worthy, and with a kind of end in itself. Like they have loved reading. Nothing more can be the reward. There cannot be a reward which is more valuable than that. Definitely. From experience, I tell you, reading will change you. Reading will have an impact on your lives. Not just for the sake of your securing marks and all. If you are really involved in that activity, if you are giving yourselves into that, there is no compromise in the quality that you may achieve as a person, at least as a human being. In a few years, not as in the very beginning, just by starting reading, within 2 or 3 years, you are not going to transform your mind, your personality, your growth. You cannot guarantee unless and until you are growing along with your reading. So there are people who read a lot. You know, they are reading a lot of books, a lot of novels, but still their personality may not. Their ways, their lack of compassion, their unhealthy way of dealing with people, situations, never helping, never extending help, or their ways of behaving in the society. All those may think that, oh, they read a lot, and what is the purpose of their reading all this? And when people are talking about reading and growing the inner self, but people are without reading also, they are by their experience they grow. So all these possibilities are there, but reading has its own worth in all its sectors. Right, so Woolf talks about the possibility of growing through reading. It's an end in itself. That is it, final. There are pleasures that are final. Beyond that, you don't have to search for something else. It's final in itself. So here, hope it is clear. The idea is clear. എന്താണ് പറയുന്നത്? ഡേ ഓഫ് ജഡ്ജ്മെന്റിൽ ഓരോരുത്തർക്കും റിവാർഡ് കൊടുക്കുക, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവരുടേതായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു അവരെ ജഡ്ജ് ചെയ്യുക, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവർക്ക് അത് ഒരു റിലീജിയന്റെ കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് പ്രകാരമായിരിക്കും ഈ ഒരു ആഫ്റ്റർ ഫൈനൽ ജഡ്ജ്മെന്റ് ആൻഡ് ഓൾ. ഐ എം നോട്ട് റിയലി aware of all those. But ഇവിടെ എന്താ പറയുന്നത്? അങ്ങനെ ഓരോരുത്തരും റിവാർഡിന് വരുമ്പോൾ അവിടെ പല ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട്, പല സെക്ടേഴ്സിലുള്ള ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട്. ലൈക്ക് കോൺകറേഴ്സ്, ലോയേഴ്സ്, സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സ്മെൻ. They are coming to take their reward. But Woolf expects or wishes that ആ ദിവസം Almighty ഒരു ബുക്സ് എടുത്തു വരുന്ന ആൾക്കാരോട് പറയുന്നത് എന്താണ്? അവർക്കിനിയൊന്നും കൊടുക്കാനില്ല. അവരിൽ തന്നെ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആണ്. Because they have just loved reading. So that is enough for their whole life to be a success. And so here we come to the end of our discussion on the essay. How should one read a book by Virginia Woolf? Thank you so much.